The gate was not high. A man of average height could have climbed it. A man of desperation could have broken it. But they did not climb. They did not break. They stood behind the iron bars and watched the water rise. The first-class passengers had already left. The lifeboats were already pulling away. The band was still playing somewhere above them, a waltz. Something soft, something that did not belong in a world where the floor was tilting and the water was cold enough to stop a heart in seconds. A young woman pressed her face against the gate. Her name was Elara. She was 19. She was traveling to America to meet a man she had never seen. Her father had arranged the marriage. She did not want to go, but she went because daughters obeyed, because immigrants hoped, because the ticket was cheap and the promise was sweet. Now the promise was drowning. The ship was drowning. She was drowning. She reached through the bars. Her fingers stretched toward nothing, toward the first-class corridor where the wealthy were running, toward the stairs that led to the deck, toward the lifeboats that would not wait. Behind her, a man whispered, "Don't be afraid." She turned. She did not know his name. She would never know his name, but she would remember his voice. The year was 1912. The place was the North Atlantic Ocean. The ship was the RMS Titanic, the largest moving object ever built by human hands. They called her unsinkable. They called her the ship of dreams. She was both and neither. She was a promise that would be broken before the first week was over. On April 10, she left Southampton. On April 11, she called at Cherbourg. On April 12, she called at Queenstown. On April 14, she was alone on the dark sea, steaming west at 22 knots, too fast, too confident, too sure of her own invincibility. The iceberg warnings came, 6 of them. They were ignored. The wireless operator was busy with passenger messages. He did not have time for ice. The captain was tired. He had been awake for too long. He trusted his ship. He trusted his crew. He trusted that the lookouts would see anything in time. They did not. At 11:40 p.m., the lookout rang the bell. 3 strikes. Something ahead. He called the bridge. Iceberg right ahead. The first officer ordered the helm hard to starboard. He ordered the engines reversed. It was too late. The iceberg scraped along the starboard side. 6 compartments were open to the sea. The ship was designed to float, with 4 flooded. 6 was death. The passengers did not know, not at first. Some felt a shudder. Some felt nothing. They went back to their cards, their drinks, their beds. The band played on. The stewards knocked on doors. "Put on your life belts. Come to the boat deck. This is only a precaution." Only a precaution. The words would haunt the survivors. The first-class passengers went first. They always went first. The lifeboats were on their deck. The stewards were trained to serve them. The gates that separated the classes were locked. Not to be cruel, to enforce the rules. The rules said third-class passengers could not mix with first class. The rules said immigrants must be kept apart from the wealthy. The rules said order must be maintained even as the ship sank. The third-class passengers were in the bottom of the ship, the cheapest berths, the smallest rooms, the farthest from the decks. They heard the water first. They felt the cold first. They knew, perhaps, before anyone else, that something was terribly wrong. They tried to go up. They found gates, locked gates, guarded gates. Some stewards let them through. Some did not. Some were kind. Some were following orders. Some were simply afraid. Elara was in third class. She had boarded at Queenstown. The last stop, the last passengers, the last chance to escape a life she did not choose. She was Irish, from County Cork. Her father had lost his farm. Her mother had lost her health. There was nothing left but America, and a man named Mr. Sullivan, a grocer in Boston, 47 years old, widowed. Kind, the letter said. She did not want to marry him. She wanted to be a nurse or a teacher or anything but a wife to a man she had never seen. But she had no money, no family, no future. So she said yes. She packed her bag. She kissed her mother. She stepped onto the ship. She did not look back. Now she was standing at a gate. The water was at her ankles. The ship was tilting. The lights were flickering. The band was still playing. She could hear the music, soft, distant, a waltz. She had never learned to dance. She would never learn. The man behind her whispered, "Don't be afraid." She turned. He was young, maybe 20. Dark hair, dark eyes. A cap pulled low over his forehead. He was carrying a small bag, a canvas bag, the kind that held everything a man owned. She did not know his name. She would never know his name, but she remembered his face, his eyes, the way he looked at her, not with fear, not with panic, with something else, and something she could not name. "The gate will open," he said. "They will come. They always come." She wanted to believe him. She did not. The water rose. The lights flickered. The band played on. What does a person whisper when the water is rising and the gate is locked and the lifeboats are leaving without them? Not a prayer, not a curse, not a goodbye. Something simpler, something older, something that does not need words. A name, a touch, a memory that will not drown. Elara looked at the man. She did not know his name. She had never seen him before. She would never see him again. But in that moment, standing behind the iron bars, watching the water climb, he was the only person in the world. "What is your name?" she asked. He smiled, a small smile, a sad smile. "Daniel," he said. "Daniel what?" He shook his head. "Just Daniel. The rest does not matter now." She wanted to argue. She wanted to know where he was from, what he did, why he was on this ship, what he hoped to find in America. But the water was at her knees now. The cold was seeping through her dress. The questions would have to wait. They would always have to wait. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Home," he said. "I am going home." She did not understand. They were on a ship in the middle of the ocean. They were sinking. There was no home. Not anymore. He saw her confusion. He pointed upward, through the decks, through the steel, through the smoke and the steam and the shouts. "There," he said. "That is where home is. Not America, not Ireland. Up there, where the boats are, where the sky is, where the stars are still bright." She looked up. She could not see the sky. She could only see the ceiling, the pipes, the wires, the darkness. But she imagined it. The stars, the cold, bright stars. The ones her mother had pointed out when she was a child. The ones that watched over the sleeping world. "My mother told me that the stars are the souls of the dead," she said, "watching us, waiting for us to join them." Daniel nodded. "Then we will have company." She laughed. A small laugh. A strange laugh. It did not belong in a sinking ship, but it came anyway, because she was young, because she was scared. Because sometimes when there is nothing left to do, you laugh. The water was at her waist now. The cold was a living thing. It wrapped around her. It squeezed her. It stole her breath. She could not feel her feet. She could not feel her legs. She could only feel the iron bars, cold, hard, unyielding. "The gate will open," Daniel said again. He said it like a prayer, like a promise, like a lie he needed to believe. "Will it?" she asked. He did not answer. He did not need to. They both knew the gate would not open. The stewards had gone. The first-class passengers had gone. The lifeboats had gone. Ali. Only the third class remained. The poor, the immigrants, the ones who had paid the least, the ones who would be forgotten. 1. The band was still playing. The waltz had ended. Something else had begun. A hymn, "Nearer, my God, to Thee." The words floated down through the decks, through the steel, through the water. "Nearer, my God, to Thee, nearer to Thee, e'en though it be a cross that raiseth me." Elara knew the hymn. She had sung it in church, in the little stone church in County Cork, with her mother beside her, her father in the pew ahead, her brothers and sisters scattered around. They had sung it on Sundays, on holy days, on days when the sky was gray and the rain was falling, and the world felt small and safe. She had never imagined singing it here, in the dark, in the cold, in the water. Daniel took her hand. His fingers were cold, but they were warm too, warm with life, with hope, with something that would not drown. "Do not let go," he said. She would not. The water rose. The lights flickered. The band played on. 20 years before the Titanic, County Cork, Ireland, a farm on the edge of the sea, the kind of place where the wind never stops, and the rain never ends, and the grass is always green. Elara was born in the back room of a stone cottage. The midwife said she had strong lungs, a good sign, a sign that she would live. She lived. She grew. She learned to walk on the wet grass, to run on the rocky shore, to swim in the cold Atlantic. She learned to read from a book her mother had saved, The Pilgrim's Progress. The words were old. The pages were soft. She read it again and again. She dreamed of a better world. A world beyond the farm, beyond the rain, beyond the hunger. Her father was a good man, a kind man, but he was not lucky. The crops failed. The cattle died. The rent rose. He borrowed money he could not repay. He lost the farm. He lost his hope. He lost himself. He sat by the fire and stared at the flames. He did not speak. He did not eat. He simply faded. Her mother was strong, stronger than her father, stronger than the hunger, stronger than the cold. She took in washing. She mended clothes. She did whatever she could to keep her children alive. But there were too many children, too many mouths, too little food. The letters came from America, from Mr. Sullivan, the grocer, the widower, the man who needed a wife. He had seen Elara's photograph. A friend had shown it to him. He had written to her father, "I will take care of her. I will give her a good home. I will make her my wife." Her father read the letter. He did not ask Elara what she wanted. He did not need to. There was no choice. There was only survival. She packed her bag, a few clothes, a few books, the photograph of her mother. She kissed her mother goodbye. Her mother did not cry. She had no tears left. She had used them all on the children who had died, the babies who had not survived the winter, the little ones who had faded like the flames in the fire. "Be brave," her mother said. "Be strong. Be good." Elara nodded. She did not speak. She could not. Her throat was too tight. Her heart was too full. She walked to the station. She took the train to Queenstown. She boarded the Titanic. She found her berth, a small room, a narrow bunk, a shared space, with 3 other women. 1. They were all going to America, all running from something, all hoping for something. They did not speak much. They were tired. They were frightened. They were strangers. The ship sailed. The days passed. The sea was calm. The sky was clear. The food was good. Better than anything Elara had eaten in years. She ate too much. She felt sick. She laughed at herself. A small laugh. A private laugh. She had not laughed in a long time. On the last night, she went to bed early. She was tired. The excitement had worn off. The fear had set in. She lay in her bunk and listened to the engines. The steady thrum, the heartbeat of the ship. She thought of Mr. Sullivan, his gray hair, his kind letters, his hands that would touch her. She did not want to be touched. Not by him, not by anyone. She wanted to be alone. She had always wanted to be alone. But alone was not possible. Not on a ship, not in a berth, not in a world where women needed men to survive. She closed her eyes. She dreamed of the sea, of the waves, of the cold, of the darkness. She woke to the shudder, the scrape, the silence that followed. She did not know what had happened. She did not know that her life was about to end. She only knew that something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. She put on her dress, her boots, her coat. She grabbed her bag, the photograph of her mother. She ran. The corridors were crowded. The stairs were crowded. The gates were locked. She reached the gate on E deck, the one that separated third class from the rest of the ship. It was locked. A steward stood beside it. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. "Let us through," she said. He shook his head. "Orders. No third class above deck until the first class are loaded. The ship is sinking." He did not answer. He had been told to keep the gate closed. He would keep it closed. He was a good soldier. He followed orders. Elara pressed her face against the bars. She watched the first-class passengers run past, their furs, their jewels, their shoes that had never touched mud. She hated them. She hated them all. Not because they were rich, because they were leaving, and she was not. The water was at her ankles now. The cold was seeping through her boots. She shivered, she prayed, she cursed. Unquote. And then she heard the voice behind her, low, calm, almost gentle. "Don't be afraid." She turned. A man, young, dark hair, dark eyes, a cap pulled low. She did not know his name. She would never know his name. But she would remember his voice. Now you think you know the story. The locked gates, the rising water, the third-class passengers left to die. But there is a detail, a small, terrible detail that changes everything. The gates were not all locked. Some were open. Some stewards ignored the orders. Some third-class passengers made it to the boat deck. Some survived. Not many, but some. Elara and Daniel were not among them. They stood at the gate. They watched. They waited. They did not try to climb. They did not try to break the bars. They simply stood, holding hands, whispering, waiting for the end. Why did they not climb? Why did they not fight? The gate was not high. A man of average height could have climbed it. A man of desperation could have broken it. Daniel was young, strong, desperate. He could have climbed. He could have pulled Elara over. He could have run. He could have lived. He did not. He stayed. He held her hand. He whispered, "Do not let go." The question is not why the gates were locked. The question is why they did not try to open them. The question is why they chose to stand still while the water rose and the ship sank and the world ended. Perhaps they were tired, tired of running, tired of hoping, tired of being told where to go and what to do and who to be. Perhaps they decided that this was enough, that this moment, standing behind a locked gate, holding a stranger's hand, was as good as any future they could imagine. Perhaps they were not victims. Perhaps they were free, free to choose, free to stay, free to die on their own terms. Elara reached through the bars, her fingers stretched toward nothing, toward the first-class corridor, toward the stairs, toward the lifeboats. She did not reach for escape. She reached for the stars, the ones her mother had shown her, the ones that watched over the sleeping world. "Can you see them?" she whispered. Daniel looked up, through the decks, through the steel, through the smoke. "I can see them," he said. "They are beautiful." The water rose. The lights flickered. The band played on. The historical record of the Titanic's third-class passengers is incomplete. Their names are listed, their ages, their occupations, their destinations, but their stories are lost. They did not write memoirs. They did not give interviews. They did not leave behind letters or diaries or photographs. They were poor. They were illiterate. They were invisible. Of the 706 third-class passengers on board, only 174 survived, a survival rate of 24%. Compare that to first class, 199 survivors out of 324. A survival rate of 61%. Second class, 119 survivors out of 277. A survival rate of 43%. The numbers do not lie. The rich lived. The poor died. The British Board of Trade inquiry into the disaster examined the question of the locked gates. The crew testified. The passengers testified. The experts testified. The conclusion: the gates were not locked. Not systematically, not intentionally. There were gates. They were kept closed to maintain order, but they were not locked. Passengers could have opened them. They could have climbed over. They could have found another way. The survivors told a different story. They said the gates were locked. They said the stewards refused to open them. They said they were trapped. They said they were left to die. The inquiry dismissed their testimony. They were emotional. They were confused. They were not reliable. The gates were not locked. The crew did their best. The disaster was an accident. No one was to blame. The families of the dead did not believe it. They knew. Their sons and daughters, their fathers and mothers, their brothers and sisters had been left behind because they were poor, because they were immigrants, because they were not worth saving. The survivors carried the memory for the rest of their lives. They did not speak of it, not to their children, not to their grandchildren, not to anyone. The shame was too great. The anger was too deep. The grief was too heavy. Elara's name is on the list. Third class, Irish, 19 years old. Destination, Boston. She did not arrive. Her body was never found. Her mother waited for weeks, for months, for years. She never stopped waiting. She died in 1928. Her last word was Elara. Daniel's name is not on the list. He may not have existed. He may have been a ghost, a hallucination, a story Elara told herself to keep from dying alone. Or he may have been real. A young man from Cork or Kerry or Clare. A young man with dark hair and dark eyes and a canvas bag that held everything he owned. A young man who whispered, "Don't be afraid," and then disappeared into the water. We will never know. The archives hold one document, a letter written by a survivor, a third-class passenger who made it to a lifeboat. She described the scene at the gate. The people pressed against the bars, the water rising, the stewards gone, the lights flickering. She described a young woman, dark hair, dark eyes, pressing her face against the bars, reaching through, not for help, for the stars. "I saw her," the survivor wrote. "I will never forget her face. She was not afraid. She was not angry. She was peaceful. She was looking up at something I could not see. She was smiling." The survivor did not know her name. No one did. She was just a face, a memory, a girl who died behind a locked gate while the band played "Nearer, My God, to Thee." The letter is in a museum now, in Belfast, where the Titanic was built. The glass case is small. The letter is faded. The words are hard to read, but they are still there, still waiting, still whispering. For a moment, be Elara, 19 years old, standing in cold water up to your knees. The gate is locked. The stewards are gone. The first-class passengers are gone. The lifeboats are gone. Only the water remains, and the man beside you, the man whose name you just learned, Daniel. Just Daniel. The water is rising. You can feel it on your skin. Cold, so cold. It steals your breath. It steals your thoughts. It steals everything but the fear. The fear is a living thing. It curls in your stomach. It climbs your throat. It presses against your teeth. You want to scream. You want to run. You want to climb the gate and break the bars and find a lifeboat and live. But you do not. You cannot. Your legs will not move. Your arms will not lift. Your body has decided to stay. Your heart has decided to stay. Your mind does not understand, but your body knows. Your body is tired, so tired. It has been tired for years. Tired of hunger. Tired of cold. Tired of running from a life you did not choose. Daniel's hand is in yours. His fingers are cold, but they are warm too. Warm with something you cannot name. Hope, perhaps, or love. Or simply the warmth of another human being who is just as scared as you are. "Do you believe in God?" he asks. You think of your mother, the little stone church, the candles, the incense, the priest in his black robes, the Latin words you did not understand. You believed, or you wanted to believe. You are not sure anymore. "I believe in something," you say. "Something bigger than us. Something that does not care about gates or tickets or the color of our skin. Something that sees us, all of us. The rich and the poor, the first and the third, the saved and the drowned." Daniel nods. He does not argue. He does not preach. He simply holds your hand. "I believe in you," he says. You laugh. A small laugh. A strange laugh. It does not belong in a sinking ship, but it comes anyway. "You do not know me. I know enough." The water is at your waist now. The cold is a belt around your middle, squeezing, crushing. You cannot feel your feet. You cannot feel your legs. You can only feel the iron bars. The cold, hard iron bars that separate you from the lifeboats, from the sky, from the stars. "My mother told me that dying is like falling asleep," you say. That you do not feel it. That you simply close your eyes and wake up somewhere else. Do you believe that? You shake your head. "I want to, but I am afraid." We are all afraid. The water is at your chest now. The cold is everywhere. You cannot breathe. You cannot think. You can only feel the water, the cold, the hand, Daniel's hand. He has not let go. He will not let go. Do you regret it? He asks. Coming on this ship, leaving Ireland, leaving your mother? You think of the farm, the stone cottage, the rain, the hunger, the father who faded, the mother who worked until her hands bled, the brothers and sisters who died in the winter cold. You do not regret leaving. You regret not leaving sooner. No, you say, I do not regret it. I regret that I did not see the stars, the real stars, the ones my mother showed me. I was always looking down at the mud, at the water, and at the floor. I never looked up. Daniel looks up, through the decks, through the steel, through the smoke. Look now, he says. You look. You cannot see them. Not really, but you imagine them. The stars, bright, cold, eternal, watching over the sleeping world. They are beautiful, you whisper. The water is at your neck now. The lights are flickering. The band is playing. The hymn, nearer, my God, to thee. You close your eyes. You do not want to see the end. You want to remember the beginning, the farm, the rain, the grass, the sea, the mother who kissed you goodbye, the father who faded by the fire, the brothers and sisters who died too young. Daniel's hand is in yours. He is whispering something. You cannot hear the words. The water is too loud. The cold is too loud. The fear is too loud. But you do not need to hear. You know what he is saying. Do not let go. You will not. The water covers your face. The lights go out. The band stops playing. And then nothing. Every choice has a price. The White Star Line chose to build the Titanic, to make her the largest, the fastest, the most luxurious ship in the world. They chose to cut costs, to use substandard materials, to carry too few lifeboats. The price? 1,500 lives, a reputation destroyed, a name that would forever be associated with death. They went bankrupt. They were bought. They were forgotten. That is the price of arrogance. You fall, and no one catches you. Captain Smith chose to ignore the iceberg warnings. He was tired. He was confident. He was 39 years at sea. He had never had an accident. He did not believe in accidents. He believed in his ship. The price? His life. His reputation. His name on a memorial in Litchfield. His body never found. That is the price of pride. You stand on the highest deck, and then you drown. The stewards chose to follow orders, to keep the gates closed, to serve the first-class passengers first. They were not cruel. They were not evil. They were doing their jobs. The price? Our come of God. Our come. Our come. The price. Our come. Our come. They carried the guilt for the rest of their lives. They saw the faces of the third-class passengers in their dreams. They heard their whispers. They felt their hands reaching through the bars. Some drank themselves to death. Some jumped from bridges. Some simply faded. That is the price of obedience. You do what you are told, and then you live with it. Elara chose to go to America. She could have refused, could have run away, could have hidden in the hills, could have found another way, but she was young. She was afraid. She did what her father asked. The price? She died at 19. She never saw Boston, never met Mr. Sullivan, never became a nurse or a teacher or anything but a memory. She paid with her life. But she also paid with something else. Her hope, her dreams, her chance to be something more than a wife to a man she did not love. Daniel chose to stay. He could have climbed the gate, could have run to the deck, could have found a lifeboat, could have lived, but he stayed. He held Alara's hand. He whispered. He did not let go. The price? His life. His name lost to history. His body never found. He is not on any list, not on any memorial, not in any archive. He is a ghost, a whisper, a story that may not be true. That is the price of love. You give everything, you get nothing, and you do it anyway. And the stars, the cold, bright stars, they chose to watch. They did not intervene, did not send a lifeboat, did not calm the sea, did not warm the water. They simply watched. As they always watch, as they always will. That is the price of being eternal. You see everything, you change nothing. Mo? Some say the gates were not locked. The third-class passengers had access to the decks. They simply did not know the way. The ship was a maze. The corridors were confusing. The signs were in English. They could not read English. They got lost. They drowned. This is true, and it is not the whole truth. Some gates were locked. Some stewards blocked the way. Some passengers were turned back. The confusion was not an accident. It was a design. The ship was built to keep the classes apart. In an emergency, that design became a death trap. Some say the third-class passengers did not want to leave. They were afraid of the lifeboats. They had never seen the sea. They did not know how to swim. They thought they were safer on the ship. They stayed. They died. This is false. The third-class passengers tried to leave. They pushed at the gates. They begged the stewards. They climbed the barriers. They fought. They died fighting. The survivors testified to this. Their words are in the record. They have been ignored for 100 years. Some say the third-class passengers were heroes. They gave up their seats in the lifeboats for the women and children. They stood back. They let others go first. They died with dignity. This is a lie. They did not give up their seats. They were never offered seats. The lifeboats were on the first-class deck. The third-class passengers could not reach them. They did not choose to die. They were left to die. The simplest explanation is the ugliest. The third-class passengers died because they were poor, because they were immigrants, because they were not worth saving. The White Star Line valued its first-class passengers. They had paid for their tickets. They had paid for their lives. The third-class passengers had paid very little. They were expendable. They were cargo, and cargo does not get lifeboats. This is not a conspiracy. It is not a theory. It is economics. The Titanic was a business, the business of moving people across the ocean. The first-class passengers were the profit. The third-class passengers were the ballast. When the ship sank, the ballast was left behind. Alara and Daniel knew this, not in words, in their bones, in the way the stewards looked at them, in the way the first-class passengers ran past them, in the way the lifeboats pulled away without them. They knew they were not worth saving, so they did not fight. They did not scream. They did not beg. They stood at the gate. They held hands. They whispered, and they died. That is the ugliest truth of all. They accepted their deaths because they had been accepting their smallness their whole lives. They had been told they did not matter by the landlords, by the priests, by the newspapers, by the governments, by a world that valued money over life. They believed it. So when the water rose, they did not run. They stayed. Because staying was what they were trained to do. Elara was 19. She had never been told she mattered. Not once. Not by anyone. She was a daughter, a sister, a future wife. She was not a person. She was a role, a function. A piece in a game she did not choose to play. When the gate locked, she did not scream. She accepted, because acceptance was all she knew. Daniel held her hand. He did not climb. He did not fight. He stayed, because staying was the only way he knew to love her. They died together, in the dark, in the cold, in the water. They did not deserve to die. No one deserves to die. But they died anyway. Now everything is quiet. The ship is gone. The water is still. The stars are out. The same stars that watched the Titanic sink. The same stars that watched Elara die. They are still there. Bright, cold, eternal. Close your eyes. Listen. Not to the wind, not to the waves, to the silence between. It is there, a whisper, soft, almost gone. Do not let go. That is what Daniel said. In the water, in the dark, in the final moments. He said it to Elara. He said it to himself. He said it to the stars. She did not let go. Neither did he. Their hands stayed clasped as the water covered them, as the cold stole their breath, as the darkness swallowed them whole. They are together now, somewhere, in a place where there are no gates, no tickets, no first class or third class, only souls, only whispers. Only the memory of a night when the sea was cold and the stars were bright and two strangers held hands and died. The Titanic rests on the ocean floor, 2.5 miles down. The pressure is immense. The darkness is absolute. The cold is permanent. But the ship is not alone. The dead are with her. Thousands of them. They drift through the corridors. They sit in the rooms. They stand at the gates. Elara is there. She is standing at the gate on E-deck, the one that was locked, the one that could not keep her in. She is not trapped. She is waiting, waiting for Daniel, waiting for the stars, waiting for someone to remember. Daniel is there. He is holding her hand. He is whispering, "Do not let go." She will not. She never will. They are not sad. They are not angry. They are at peace. The peace that comes after the struggle, after the fear, after the cold. The peace that waits for all of us at the end of every story. The sea is calm now. The waves are gentle. The wind is soft. The stars are bright. The same stars that Elara's mother showed her. The same stars that watched over the sleeping world. She is watching too, from the gate, from the water, from the place where the dead go when the living forget. She is watching you, not with judgment, not with anger, with love. The love of a girl who died too young, the love of a stranger who held a stranger's hand, the love of a whisper that will not fade. Sleep now. The gate is open, not the iron gate, the gate between worlds, the one that separates the living from the dead. It is open, just a crack, just enough for a whisper to pass through. Do not let go. She is saying it to you, to all of you, to the ones who remember, to the ones who listen, to the ones who hold hands in the dark and refuse to let go. You are not alone. You have never been alone. The dead are with you, the ones who died on the Titanic, the ones who died in all the wars, the ones who died of hunger and cold and neglect. They are watching, they are waiting, they are whispering. Do not let go. You will not. You cannot. Because letting go is not an option. Not for Elara, not for Daniel, not for you. You hold on to the memory, to the story, to the hand that reaches through the gate. The water is gone. The cold is gone. The fear is gone. Only the whisper remains, soft, gentle, everlasting. Good night, Alara. Good night, Daniel. Good night, all the third-class passengers who died behind locked gates while the band played on. Good night, listener. The stars are bright. The sea is calm. The gate is open. Sleep